Hey, you're live.
Hi there. Hello. I'm Arpander. This is my goofy sister.
Hi.
I'm taller
I'm
than her.
Sophia.
I'm taller than her. Did you see that?
It's just because the camera's super tall and I'm super short and
I'm making a bunch of weird faces.
All right. Come on.
Bye.
That was it. All right.
Hi, go to my blog, visit it. Dad, I'll put it in the description. Okay, bye.
That was horrible.
What did you say?
That was horrible. Say it
No.
again. That way people know.
Hey, can you come visit my blog? My dad will put it in the description. Okay, bye.
This is the pre-show to the show.
Hello. I'm his daughter. I'm the youngest. Yeah.
All right.
And I hide love rocks. I'm gonna hide one soon. So you guys can go look at it. In the last live stream that I told you guys that I hid one in a place called Chewy's. And Daddy put the link in the description below.
Good job. All right, let's start the show. Come on, we gotta start the show.
Bye.
Bye.
I love
Go,
you, Papa.
go. We gotta start the show.
I love you, Papa.
I love you guys. I love you guys. Go,
Ah,
go, go, go.
bye, I love you.
Love you too. All right. All right, love you guys. Well, if you have kids, you know how it goes. If you don't have kids, that's how it goes. Welcome everybody to Bot 10 Art. My name is Lazaro Gomez, and this is the Friday night live stream. And I'm very, very happy to say that we had a really awesome week. We're going into the weekend. It's going to be also incredibly awesome because I get to work on projects. I get to do, of course, the Friday night live stream, hang out with all of you guys, and move forward. So tonight, I'm working on this guy. This is a commission that I was hired to do, and I'm in the process of masking his face so that I can paint his hair and not mess up the paint underneath. So a little bit of my process. I know that I said that I would make a video about custom pops once we hit 100 subscribers. But we're doing a little behind the scenes type deal. So I figured for the live stream, I'll show you a little bit of the process. But I really want to get to that video and just kind of show step by step everything. I'm going to give away a lot of my, I guess, tips and tricks on that video. Once we hit 100 subscribers, I will make a video on custom pops. But tonight, this is a commission that I was working on, or that I am working on, and usually they take about a week, 2 weeks, depending on the amount of detail and all the things that go along with it. So this particular pop does have 3D printed pieces that go along with it. There's a lot of just contour, a lot of detail within the suit and stuff like that. So yeah, it's really intense, man. It's really intense. I've been working on it and just slowly chipping away at it. But that's kind of the way that I do my pops. I never rush through any pop. And I gotta say that I do apologize for all the people that are waiting for their custom pops. I have a bunch of pops here lined up, and they all belong to somebody, and it's their own, custom pop, and it does take time. It really does take time, and I want to say thank you for being so patient, because a lot of you have reached out to me and said, hey, I want a custom pop. And we know you're busy, and we know it takes a long time. But yeah, so this is the reason why, is because I take my time with it. I make sure that the paint is just right. it's different things that go along with it. So if I'm modeling the hair, that has to go in the oven, that has to cure, that has to cool down. Then I can get it again, and I could add another detail to the body that has to go in the oven. It has to cure, it has to cool down, and then I get it back again. So it's like, it's a progression. Every time I add something to these pops, just using original Sculpey or Sculpey 2, it does have to go into the oven. It does have to cool down, and you don't want to speed up this process. One thing I have noticed in certain pops, that the head will be tilted a certain way, like, the head will be kind of drooping to one side or drooping forward, or the arm maybe just, because these pops right here are kind of like that. So like, you'll have a pop that's kind of like this, or it's weird looking. So I have to put them in the oven, and I have to fix them up and kind of put little pieces of paper here to kind of wedge it so it goes the right way. So just know that if you're doing, and that, that's another thing that I want to cover in that video. But yeah, if, just be mindful that if you get these DIY custom pops, just like this one, there's certain things that you have to look out for. Like, for instance, I bought this one for one of my clients, and I could tell just by the bottom. Actually, let's take it out real quick. But I could tell that there's gonna be some repair that needs to happen before I can start working on this pop. So this is a DIY pop right out of the box, and right there, and I don't know if you guys can see that, but right there the head is actually inside what holds it. So there's a round piece that has a bit of a cone, and then the head just sits right on top of that. Well, in this case, the head is actually under that. So I'm gonna have to put just a blank in the oven, get it soft enough to pop the head off, and then put it back on properly before I even start to work on this pop. But you could see, it's something that if you guys are getting into custom pops and you want to make all your own stuff, this is something you got to keep an eye on, because sometimes the leg is a little bit off, sometimes the head is a little bit sideways, and in this case, you can see it right there, the head is completely inside the holder. Not something extremely critical. It's not going to damage the pop at all. As a matter of fact, the head is going to come right off, and I'll be able to fix it, and it'll be a custom pop, and it shouldn't be a problem. This is probably the most dramatic or drastic I've seen an imperfection when it comes to DIY pops, and especially now that they're getting even harder to find, now that there's so many people doing customs. The price is going up on these. I used to get these for like $6, and now I'm getting them for $10. So unfortunately, that's something that if you want a custom pop, you're gonna have to pay for this, because I don't keep them. I don't keep them. I have all the ones that I do that are my customs and stuff like that, but I too have to buy these. So the male pop is going for about like $2.50. I could still get the female pop for about $9, but you do see certain imperfections and stuff like that, just the way that they make these figures. So the body is a solid piece, and I may just get one of these and make a cast out of them, at least the body, because I could, it's a solid resin, but this part of the head is hollow, so it's a different kind of plastic. But that, of course, I cannot do unless I rotocast the heads also. But we'll see. If they start getting really, really expensive, I'm going to have to come up with something to recreate these so that I can continue doing custom pops and stuff like that. Another thing that you have to worry about is these come with a white matte paint. If I was to rub all this paint off, you would see kind of a translucent type plastic But sometimes when they paint these, you'll see the paint drips and stuff like that, and you see certain imperfections within the pop. Like for instance, for this one, the paint was so heavy on the face that it was actually dripping down here in the chin. So I had to sand all that down, sand it really fine before I started painting it. So it's little things like that that I find when I do these customs that you have to keep an eye on. So yeah, with that, I think I talked enough. I've been talking about these little custom pops for 10 minutes now. But I do want to go ahead and dive right in and kind of show you how I mask these and start the painting process. And you guys are going to see that right now. So we're going to flip some cameras over, zoom into this guy, and then hopefully you'll be able to see what it is that I do with these custom pops. So here we go. We're flipping over. All right, so there's my work area. It's a little bit untidy, but that's okay. That's quite all right. Oh! There is destruction in every live stream. So this particular pop fell down. It's going back in its box. All right, so this one's going back in its box, and it's going back in line. All right, so let's see. So these are the paints that I use to do my custom pops. I also use spray paint. And you know, depending on what it is, I'll use spray paint. I try to get either satin or matte. This one's glossy, but yeah. So I use spray paint. I use these little brushes. That one probably has to soak a little bit, and I just use regular masking tape. You don't want anything too sticky because it starts peeling off the paint underneath. Especially if you paint it this figure, and you know, you start taping stuff, and by the time you take it off, it'll start peeling off some of the paint. So there's a trick to stop that from happening, and like I said, we get to that 100 subscriber, we'll make that video and I will show you what that trick is. but yeah, so tonight what we're gonna do is we're gonna concentrate on painting these little areas. I'll zoom in just a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about. So here's our pop. I painted the hair, or the majority of the hair, but if you notice, when it gets close to the other color, I haven't painted that. And the reason why I haven't painted it is because I have to mask that area out to make sure that I don't paint over it. Because if I had a little brush, let's say, let's see. So if I had a really thin brush and it wasn't masked, then now I'm trying to like very carefully paint this over and over and over and over again, because these paints are very thin, they're watered down, and eventually you're gonna mess up and you're gonna paint something that you've already painted. So I don't want to mess up this nice blue color that I have on the pop. I just want to make sure that, you know, everything looks really good. So what do? I just mask the area out using the tape, using an X-Acto knife, just like this one here, and then I start tracing that area out. We put tape on it, and then now it doesn't matter. Now I could just paint freely, and it saves me time, and it all gets painted, and you guys are gonna see that tonight. So that's part of the masking process, and that's something that I go through. So let's zoom out just a little bit. I think that's good there. I'll move this up a little bit. Focus. And then, you know, of course, you can see why it takes so much time. Also, if you notice, you know, right here, and a couple of places, you'll see some of the white coming through, because this is actually primed. And you'll see some of the white coming through there, and some of the Sculpey. So this is the figure, and this is the Sculpey. And what I was doing there was just kind of smoothing certain areas down. So there were certain parts of the pop that I didn't like, and I just, once it was primed, I just went over it with some sandpaper. I think I used, let's see. So I used 1,000 wet dry sandpaper. That's to get it really, really smooth. But if I have a lot of material to knock off, I'll use something like a 500. But yeah, so if you see, certain spots like that, it's because I've been sanding down certain details and just kind of getting it as smooth as possible. And for this particular character, most of his suit is white, so I'm not too concerned with priming it again, because that will all be covered. And you could, you know that it's going to turn out fine, because there were certain parts in the face around here that were the same. They were gray and white, and now they are perfectly covered. So we're going to go ahead and continue masking. I have a little bit here, a little bit here. The ear, of course. We got to mask all that out. Mask this side here, the other ear, and I'll probably stop like right there, and I'll stop right there, because this will be a whole other thing, and I don't want to spend the whole hour just masking, this particular pop. So what I do is I do it in pieces, and I use my sculpting tools. Surprisingly enough, I use tools just like this one to kind of go into those little areas. Make sure the tape is nice and flat and flush against the part that I'm gonna paint. Make sure it's nice and flush against the part that I'm gonna paint, just like that. And then I'll run my X-Acto knife through here, and then peel off that piece, and it's ready for paint. So that's what we're gonna do tonight with this particular pop, and we're gonna keep moving forward. So that's basically the way I do the hair. Okay, that's the way I paint the hair. So I paint the major parts first, the top, the sides, everything that I know that is not going to touch another color, and then I mask out these. I like to call them delicate parts, right? So these are the delicate parts that need to be covered up in order for me to paint it properly. So I got a hair dryer here, so I'm gonna be painting and drying these layers. It'll take about 8 or 9 layers of paint for each part. So this part, that part, that part, this part, this part, this part, and that part, that's all gonna be separate layers. So we'll probably start with this right here, this part right here, but I'm gonna mask this side here so you guys see how I do my masking. So here we go. I also have gloves. These are, I think, 7mm or 5mm. These are my favorite gloves. Actually, let me see. Yep, I was right. So these are 5mm. These are 5mm gloves. And I picked these up at Harbor Freight. These are my favorite gloves. They're made by Hardy. They're for industrial use. And the reason why I like these gloves so much is because they have a few features that I really like. So the first feature, of course, is for industrial use. So these are gonna be really tough gloves. All right, these are really like tough gloves, and that's what I like. And there's different kinds. They come 100 per box, and there's different kinds. You have medium duty, you have heavy duty, and you have light duty. So I always get medium. And I wear these gloves all the time when I'm either making pops or creating a prop, or I'm painting something. It's a really neat way to kind of protect your hands, and that way you don't have like spray paint and stuff like that. If you're going to work or you're going to a job interview or some fancy party, you don't want to have, ugly looking hands, I guess. But these are, going back to the gloves, these are 5mm, and they're neutral disposable gloves. So these are really good. These are really good. And of course, my favorite size is medium. I do have big hands, but I like to use the medium glove, because once I'm working, I don't want to have any spaces in the fingertips and stuff like that that can kind of mess up what I'm doing. So I want the glove to be as snug as possible to my fingers, and that's the reason why I get these right here. But you can get these at Harbor Freight. I want to say the box is like $5, and it lasts a long time. And just to kind of put things in perspective, these are gloves that you can get at Walmart. They're latex gloves. I don't like these. They have a powder in them. They're real like thin and flimsy, and I got these by accident because I thought that they were just the same as these, but they weren't. And that's of course my fault. I should have read it a little bit better. So I use these to spray paint props and stuff like that outside, because I know I'm just gonna put them on, spray paint something, hang it up to dry, and literally just throw these gloves away. So it's a one-time use. They're real thin, very flimsy. They have powder inside that I do not like. But these, you can get them for like $3 in Walmart. But if you get gloves and you're working on custom pops, then I suggest you get these 5 mil right here. All right, so let's get back to the masking. There's our guy. There's our little dude. Same thing with the tape. This is, just standard masking tape. You can get this anywhere. You can get it at Walmart or Home Depot, wherever you like to buy tape. You can get this. This is a medium stick, so it's not very the adhesive is not, it's strong, but it's not real sticky. All right, and this part of the process, I do not wear my gloves because it starts sticking to the glove and you can't really work the way that you want to. So what I do is I wear or I don't wear my gloves, and I have tiny little pieces just like this, and I set them off to the side. Nothing more than that, because the way that we work the tape in is with this tool right here. So these are modeling tools that I picked up at Harbor Freight as well. They were like really cheap. I think I might have paid like $3 for these. But I use this to kind of, drive the tape where I need it to be. And then once it's there and it's up against the surface, then we use the X-Acto knife to kind of cut that piece out. And you gotta have a really sharp X-Acto knife. And if you're not too sure about how sharp your X-Acto knife is, you can use a small piece of sandpaper just like this, and you can sharpen that blade. Because when you're cutting tape, you want it to be as sharp as possible. So this is what I do. Of course, you could always replace this blade, but I try to stretch these out as long as possible, because these blades, being that I have a big X-Acto knife, these are, I think, either 6 or 8. I'm not quite too sure on the size, but I know it's the bigger blade, and they tend to be expensive. Okay, so sorry, this is 2. This is an X-Acto 2, and these are big blades, and they cost a lot of money. So I try to make everything last as much as possible. I think that's a very important thing that you kind of need to know when you're doing this sort of stuff. Is number one, protect your tools, keep them nice, keep them clean, keep them in good working order, because once you buy a tool, especially if it's expensive, you don't want to waste it. You don't want it to get messed up or damaged. So that's what I do with the blades. I try to make them last as long as possible. And so just make sure it's nice and sharp when you're doing this right here. So I think we're okay right here. I don't need to zoom in very much, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a piece of tape right here on this side to kind of cover that up. And this one might be a little too big, but we'll see. I kind of do need some coverage. Now, I don't want to put it here and cover this piece. So what I'll do is, let's see, I'll probably cut this one in half. Yeah, I'm cool with this. There we go. And then now that that piece is in, I can rub it against the surface that I need. So right there. Just like that. And then now I can go in with a little bit sharper tool, because that one, it does have a bit of a blunt edge. So now we're going to go with a little bit sharper edge. And perhaps that might be a bad thing, but let's see if it'll zoom in. Alright, so this is the really sharp edge, and you can see how thin that is versus this blunt edge, and it's a lot thicker. So this starts it off, and this gets it where it needs to be. So we're gonna go ahead and sometimes it'll cut the tape for me, but I just run it along just like this, and now it's ready for the X-Acto knife. So with the X-Acto knife, I want to make sure that I'm careful that I don't damage the paint job that I've already done underneath. So right on the edge, just like that, and you could peel the piece off. Now I do have a set of tweezers. I have a set of tweezers that I use, and here they are. And sometimes, you know, the tape gets into like this tiny little nook, and you need a little bit of assistance, and that's how you would get it out. So you could imagine me sitting here for hours and hours as my very patient family's like, hey, let's go have dinner. And I'm like, wait, a little bit more. But yeah, so this is what I do. And then once it's there, this has a bit of a rounded edge, and what I'll do is I'll make sure that it's nice and smooth up against that piece. So we got one done. Now we're gonna go ahead and do this tiny little piece right here. And the way you want to set it up is you want it to stick on one side, and then kind of drive the tape in. That way it takes that form. And it doesn't mess up the tape and all that good stuff. So you want to have a nice sharp edge just like that. And you don't want to force it. Oh, there goes my dogs. Somebody came home. And like I said, you don't want to force the tape, because then it creates gaps, and when you're painting, you start seeing certain little pieces that you missed. And that happens if you force the tape into where it needs to go. So you don't want to do that. You want it to form. There we go. And you will waste tape. I can tell you that. When you're doing these, you will waste tape. So there you go. And then now, right here by the ear, we're going to have to tape all this here. Where are my scissors? There they go. LaCroix. Not a sponsor. However, they should be. I drink so much LaCroix. Okay, so for the ear, it's going to be the same thing. So I'm just going to lay it down just like that. And I'm going to carefully drive it to where it needs to go. Just like that. And for this particular piece, you can kind of see where it's poking through the tape. And we're going to follow that with the X-Acto knife. Now here with this tool, I purposely cut it. I purposely cut the tape just so that it's easier for the X-Acto knife. And this is going to give you a really clean edge when you're painting. Oops, sorry. I went off frame. It's not easy to stay focused on the video when you're doing these. Alright, so I have to invent a little bit here and kind of do that. Alright. So here I have a piece that didn't cut all the way through. And if that happens, you want to go into a piece that you haven't painted yet. Like in this particular case, it was the hair. So there's the piece. It came out, and then now I can do that. All right. And like I said, we're only going up to here, so I'm not going to worry about that. I don't have to tape down here because I really don't think I'll go down so low on it, but I'll put a piece of tape just in case. And that'll kind of protect it. And it's not, you know, it's nothing too serious if you accidentally paint over something that you've already done. I mean, you have the paint, you could always go back. It just, you know, you want to work in a forward motion. So once you do something, you don't want to go back and do it again. So there we go. We got that half already done. Just making sure the music is not too loud. Alright, so I've pretty much done this side here. I pretty much did this side here, so we're going to continue that on and then cover the ear. So we're going to need some more pieces of tape. And if you're into like Zen, making pops is very Zen. You just kind of sit here and you know, put on your favorite podcast or watch another YouTuber. That's usually what I do. I'll watch other art videos, or I'll listen to a podcast or something like that. Watch a movie, and I say watch loosely because it's more like listening to the movie more than anything. But yeah, you just sit here, you just go step by step. You take your time, and it comes out really nice. So here's this piece here. I want to cut it at an angle this way. And sometimes you just gotta invent certain things. Alright, so I don't want to cover up the hair that I already have masked out. Let me know if I keep coming out of frame. It does happen when you're making these. It also helps to have good lighting. You want to have good lighting when you're doing these. That way you can see any little spots and stuff like that you missed. You can go back and fill them in. Alright, so We got that little tiny piece in. This one's already covered on this side. So when I'm running the blade, and I'll give you a bit of a better angle, but when I'm running the blade, I'm running it right up against the hair. I don't want to go this way, because if I go this way, I have a chance of scratching the pop, or of cutting my hand, or just damaging the paint job in general. So what I do is I'll start in the middle, put it up against the part that I want to mask, and that way if I mess up, it goes into the part that I'm going to paint and not the part that I've already painted. So I start in the middle, and then I make my way. I trace the contour as much as I can. And for this one, it looks like I'm going to have to use the tweezer to get that little piece out. Whoops. It was like a tiny little piece of tape. And now it's stuck to my hand. It's like that creature in Life. Calvin, was that what it's called? I think they called it Calvin. Alright, so I don't think I spoiled anything. If you haven't seen that movie, it's a good movie. Alright, there we go. So basically that piece of tape was to remove this piece of tape. There we go. These pops, of course, are top heavy, and sometimes if you stand them up, they'll want to fall, they'll want to fall backwards, or they'll want to fall forward. If you have one, I've experienced it with this one, it tends to want to fall backwards. So what I do is, just every once in a while, I'll just kind of give it a nice little bend forward, and then it stands on its own. So yeah, again, that's part of the DIY design. Unfortunately, this particular pop came in that way. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and do the ear. It might have to be done in two parts, I don't know. We'll see. But there's the ear. Same thing. You could see how the tape starts buckling or bending. And the reason why it's doing that is because it's following whatever it is that I'm tracing with this particular tool. And that's what I want. See that? That's exactly what I want. There we go. And see, like right there, it cut the tape, and that's good. That's not a bad thing, as long as it's up against that shape. Because if not, of course, it'll paint part of the ear that I don't want it to paint. There we go. So right there, my hand slipped a little bit, and it hit the hair. It hit the hair right there. And that's okay, because that's going to get painted, so you won't even see it. It's funny because Adam Savage, he calls it hiding the crimes. And every project has a place where you hide the crimes, and that was it. You saw me hiding the crime. Alright, I'm not going to worry about this part here so much. I just want to focus on this. So I'll stop there, and when I get to paint again, I'll mask it another way. So I'm going to put a piece that goes right here, and we'll be pretty much ready to paint. I do see a little crevice there. So for that, I'm going to cut a thin piece. When I was painting the Star Wars helmet, it was the same thing. There were bits and pieces that I had to mask off so that I could paint. And some of these pieces are like really tiny. There we go. This one's gonna be broken a little bit. I'm okay with that, because it's just to put that little tiny piece in there. So you could see, you know, I'm not rushing it or anything like that, but you could see where it does take time. It takes time to do these, especially if they have, you know, hair and stuff like that. But I don't mind it, you know, I don't mind it at all, because the hair detail is like, it's really awesome. And yeah, fruits of your labor pay off. So if you take your time, you'll be good. And this, like I said, this particular tool, I like it a lot because it allows me to get the tape where it needs to go and not damage the pop. It doesn't damage the paint job and stuff like that. So that's gonna get covered up just in case. And I like the small pieces of tape rather than just a huge piece of tape, because it allows me to isolate the area that I'm working on. And when I'm taking it off, it's just bits and pieces that are coming off instead of this one giant, like, you know, oh, I messed up here. So, you know, if I take a piece off and I have some kind of mess up or something like that, I could always go back and tape it again and, you know, paint it the way it needs to be painted. So that's the sort of stuff that I look for. Ooh, there's a gap right there. That would have been bad. Alright, so that's covered up. And you want to make sure that everything's nice and covered, because when you start painting, you discover, you're like, oh my god, I didn't cover that part. That's gonna come out. Alright, there we go. Yep, hiding the crimes. If you guys have done custom pops and stuff like that, make sure to leave me a comment on this video. I would love to see, you know, your process or what you did, or if you learned anything here, or, you know, something that you can take back with you, or, you know, of course, teach me if there's a tip or trick that I'm missing. That'd be great, man. Let me know. Let me know, because every day you learn something is a good day. Alright, there we go. Okay, so we're pretty much good. I think I want to put a piece here, and we can start painting. Uh-oh. I'm destructive. Tape. Yeah, so there's some things, there's some things that you don't, you know, some things you want to save money on, other things you don't. Like, you know, don't be too stingy with the tape. Now what I'm doing here is I'm kind of flattening the tape, because it starts lifting up after a while, since it's not very sticky. And I'm just kind of making sure it's down good before I start painting. So there we go. We're gonna start painting our guy. I think he's in a spot where we can do so. We're at a spot where we can do so confidently and not have to worry about damaging the blue face. So there we go. I'm gonna shake up some paint. Just stare at this guy for a little bit while I shake up paint and drink LaCroix. Alright, so Put on the gloves. There you go. There's one. Here's the other. And again, this is what I was talking about, the gloves. You see how you know there's no room. It's like that, you know, my fingers are my fingers. Like, and I like that because when I'm holding a figure or something like that, I want to be able to have that tactile feel. So this right here is the skin tone. This is the hair tone. And I always leave that kind of stuff on my palette. Sometimes it'll be like hair color, outfit, you know, like shirt, pants, shoes, whatever. I always leave it that way, and I leave it on my desk when I'm working on a custom pop because I could say, oh yeah, that's right. So skin tone is there, and the hair tone is there. So this is nice and ready now. I always keep a junk water or throwaway water because this is the one that gets rid of all the paint on my brush. And you can get a set of brushes anywhere. You can get them at Michael's or your favorite hobby store. Then I have another container with clean water, which is what I just did. Got my art rag right here next to me. And now we got a nice clean brush ready to go. This paint here, it dries pretty quick and you don't need a lot. Because what you want to do is to get to that color, you're going to keep covering it over and over and over and over. So you're going to do 1, let it dry, 2, let it dry, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, until it's completely covered and you don't see any of the gray. That's just the way it works with this paint. So you don't need a lot. Literally, like, that may be too much. Being that it does have a lot of water in it, I want to dry the brush as much as possible. And then we can start painting. So I pick up a little bit. Just like that. And then I can start painting with confidence. I don't want it to go on too thick, because if it goes on thick, then you start losing the detail of the hair. So as you can see right there, you can still see some of the gray, and that's okay. That's all right. You can still see some of the gray, and that's okay. But masking the figure is really time consuming, but at the same time, it's very rewarding, because see how I'm just like brushing on the paint and I'm not worried about carefully putting in a detail in the face, or oh my god, I painted the face, now I gotta go back and start all over. I don't have to worry about any of that. And if I did miss it by accident and a little part poked through, then it's not a big deal, because I could always go back and I could fill it in, and there's no foul at all. So there's the first layer. I'm gonna hit it with the dryer real quick. And I put the dryer on a low setting. And normally I do this away from my paint because I don't want it to dry. So I'm going to kind of go up a little bit this way. So I'm good with that. It's dry to the touch. I got these two little pieces of tape that keep wanting to come up. That one and this one. Ah. Alright, cool. So there's the first layer. Go back. Second layer. And you're still going to see gray coming through. You're still going to see gray coming through. So this is why it's just a slow process. Now, yeah, I could get a heavy body paint. But the problem is that with heavy body paints, you have to mix them. Like if I wanted this particular color, I would have to mix it, and you know, I could certainly do that, but it just saves time to do it this way. And that's the reason why I use these little, you know, little acrylics. You definitely want to use acrylics when you're working on custom pops. Either that or spray paint. And sometimes the detail is like way too small for spray paint. In this particular case it was. Alright, there's the second layer. We're starting to lose some of the gray. We're going to hit it again with the dryer. This time I'm going to hit it a little bit more aggressive to kind of move it along. So I'll be off the screen for a minute. Here we go. And again, it's dry now. We're going back again. This is the third layer. And I keep turning the object. You always see me kind of, turning the object in all kinds of different directions and stuff like that, because I could have intently been painting this here and, focused so clearly on that, but then when I turn the figure, I'm like, oh, okay, I missed this spot. And so that's what you want. You want the figure to be it's a 3D object, it's in 3D space. So you want to rotate it all around, and you want to see all the different little nooks and crannies and stuff like that, because there's nothing worse than turning in a custom pop to someone and seeing, they're seeing it for the first time, so they're a bit taken back by it, and you're kind of like, oh my god, I missed that spot. So there's no like worse feeling than that. So you want to make sure that you take your time with this. If it's your own, I understand you'll be a little bit you'll be a bit less worried about it, but if you're doing these for clients, I suggest that you take your time. Take your time. Look at the object over and over. Make sure you paint from all different angles. And don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to put extra layers. I mean, okay, so what? It took you 32 layers to paint the hair. So what? It's well covered. It looks great. Yeah, go for it. So I'm pretty much in a spot where I want to be with this. And I will say that putting or taking off the tape is just as slow and meticulous as adding it. So keep that in mind as you're, don't just rip off the tape. Just take it off bit by bit, piece by piece. Make sure you don't miss anything, because if you do, then you gotta mask it again, and then you gotta paint it again. So there we go. We're gonna hit this one with the dryer. Alright, there we go. And I'm really happy with that. I like it so far. And again, I'm just kind of looking, seeing this little part right here, that little corner. There's a little spot that I missed. So that's what I look at. I look at, you know, all the different shadows and stuff. And I normally have 2 lights on, one on each side. That way I can kind of see it. You know, I can see any kind of detail that I might have missed. But this is looking really good. At the end, when I'm comfortable with all the painting I've done, I'll dip my brush in a little bit of water. And then pick up the last little bit, because if it's thinned out, the paint will travel to all those little spots that you may have missed. The watered down paint will fall in those little deep crevices of the clay and kind of fill them up. And that's, you know, that's something I always look at. All right, one final time, and we're done. We're done with the hair. All right, there it is. Very nice. Very, very nice. Cool. That's it. Are we a little bit crooked? Hold on, let's fix that. Oh, now we're a lot of bit crooked. That's better. So yeah, just like that. You know, that's how I go through the whole painting process of a pop. You have to very carefully mask everything in great detail, and then of course sometimes I'll use my helping hands because it has a magnifying glass on it. And I can kind of, you know, see if I missed anything, see any areas that I need to address before I pull the tape off, because once the tape is off, you know, like I said, I would have to go back and kind of fill those areas again with tape and then paint it again. So usually I just kind of give it a good, you know, a good look, make sure everything's nice, well covered, and that's kind of the process I go through painting these custom pops. So this is all nice and dry. I can peel off the tape and I can move on to painting the body. So the next thing that's going to happen is I'll probably paint the suit and all that good stuff once I finish this backside here. So that'll be the next step. We're going to take all this off from the front. We're going to tape the back, paint all of that, and then I can move on to the spaceship, or the space suit, I should say, not the spaceship. So yeah, just like that. That's how we do it. All right. Take off my surgical gloves. We finished surgery, sir. Oh, that was funny. We finished the surgery, sir. The patient will live. I hope the patient will live, because if the patient doesn't live, then I don't get any more commissions. So yeah, as you can tell, I take a big care to all of this, because I want it to come out really, really nice. I was actually talking to a friend of mine, and we were kind of discussing the speed that these custom pops happen at. And it's like, well, you know, if someone pays you a lot more money, you'll get that one done faster, or this and that, whatever. And they were kind of teasing me about it. But my answer was true. It doesn't matter how much money someone would give me to expedite a pop. It's going to be the same because I'm going to take my time. I'm going to make sure each and every individual pop is just as good as the previous one. And I enjoy it. I enjoy the process. I enjoy making a product that's like really, really nice, and it's unique, and it's something that no one's going to have. So I do like to take my time with that. So with that, we are coming to the end of the Friday night live stream. As always, I want to say thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching the videos afterwards. I know a lot of people have come up to me and said, man, I'm sorry, I'm going to miss the live stream. And I said, it's not a big deal. You could always watch it again. It's going to be on YouTube forever on my channel. So I do want to say thank you for always supporting, liking, leaving comments, and doing all of the things that you do for my channel. I have seen an increase in views. I've seen an increase in subscribers and stuff like that. And of course, I want to be the first to say welcome to all of our new subscribers that are now on the channel and have joined our community, have joined our family of artists and creators and photographers and everything else. It's a really, really neat community that we have here, and I'm really proud of that. And I'm not just saying it to, gain subscribers and the channel blows the hell up. I don't want that. I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for a calm, cool place where you can come, hang out, share your projects with me, and perhaps learn something from me. I can learn something from you, and we're going to keep it going. So I do want to express my gratitude, and I want to say thank you, and I want to say welcome to the new subscribers. I hope you stay a really, really long time. If this is the first time that you watch the video, hit subscribe, ding the bell. That way you get notifications as to when I go live or upload a video. And with that, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. And we'll see you next week. Maybe we'll finish this one. Maybe we'll be on to something else. But there's always something really neat to look at every single week. So enjoy your weekend. And we'll see you next time. We'll see you next time.